All right, for the last couple of years, we've all seen AI learn to create. It writes, it codes, it makes these incredible images, but that was just the beginning. Today, we're going to talk about the next big leap in AI's evolution, the moment it stops just making things for us and starts doing things on its own. So let's get into it. And that really is the big question we're tackling here. I mean, we know AI can create, but what happens when it starts to act? We're talking about moving beyond this familiar world where AI is just a tool that waits for our prompts and into a whole new reality where it's an autonomous collaborator. So what does that future actually look like? Okay, section 1, AI's next leap, is all about action. Let's really frame what's happening here. We're seeing a huge move away from what we're used to, generative AI, the creator, towards something completely different and frankly, way more powerful, AI that takes autonomous action. Okay, let's really break this down. On one side, you've got generative AI. This is the creator, right? We know this one pretty well. You give it a prompt, it spits out text or code or an image, it synthesizes knowledge and gives you a static output. But on the other side, you have agentic AI. This is the executor. This thing doesn't just respond. It autonomously plans, it acts, it adapts to reach a goal. It's not a passive tool you have to guide every step of the way. It's a proactive collaborator that can manage entire workflows. See the difference? One makes stuff, the other gets stuff done. So that brings us right to the star of the show today, agentic AI. Let's get a super clear definition of what we actually mean when we say an AI is agentic. So here's the official definition. An agentic AI is a system that can, on its own, plan, act, and adapt to hit certain goals. The key here is that it's a proactive collaborator, not just a passive tool. Think of it less like a fancy calculator that just gives you an answer when you ask, and more like a project manager. You give it the big picture goal, and it figures out the steps and actually gets the job done. And this quote, man, it just paints such a vivid picture. Imagine a world where there are practically unlimited number of interns, all able to work throughout the day with perfect diligence. Just think about that for a second. An infinite workforce that's always on, always doing exactly what it's supposed to do, handling these complex, multi-step tasks without ever getting tired. That right there, that's the promise of agentic AI, a whole workforce of digital executors. All right, but this isn't just some sci-fi theory, This tech is already being used in some pretty incredible ways. So let's look at some real-world examples that are already changing industries. Okay, take digital twins, for example. These are basically virtual copies of real-world systems, like a factory or a supply chain. And they used to be pretty static models. But now you power them with AI, and they become these intelligent, adaptive systems. They can pull in real-time data to predict when a machine is about to fail. They can run what-if simulations, like what happens if this shipping port closes? And they actually learn how a system operates to make smart recommendations all on their own. They're not just mirroring reality anymore. They are actively helping to manage it. And it gets even more real with what we call embodied AI, or, robots. For a robot to actually do stuff in our messy world, it has to overcome some massive challenges. And these big, general-purpose AI models are the key. They help robots make sense of all the data coming from their sensors, so they can actually understand their surroundings. They can translate a simple command from us, like, hey, go clean the table, into a whole sequence of physical actions. They can make smart calls, even with incomplete data. And this is crucial, they do it all in real time. This is AI literally taking action in the physical world. Now, let's look at a really high-stakes example, clinical research. This is where you can see the perfect partnership between these two types of AI. The generative AI, the creator, it drafts all the complex documents, the study protocols, the reports, all of that. But then the agentic AI, the executor, takes over. It orchestrates the entire workflow. It's monitoring trial data in real time, flagging risks before they become problems, notifying the right people, and just managing the whole process from start to finish. It's a complete intelligent system where one AI creates and the other executes. Okay, so with this much power and this much autonomy, a huge question pops up, right? How do we govern these systems? Because when AI can act on its own, well, the old rules just don't apply anymore. And it's pretty clear there is no single answer here. The world is taking very different approaches. You've got the EU, which is going for this comprehensive, stringent, risk-based approach with its AI Act. It's kind of setting a global benchmark. Then you have the US, where it's a bit more fragmented. The federal government is focused on competition, while states like California and New York are making their own laws. And then there's China, which has these really focused regulations on things like content, but is also playing a very strategic role in global governance talks. The takeaway? We're living in a world with a whole lot of different rule books. And look, these debates about governance aren't just abstract policy talks. They have massive real-world consequences, especially for the workforce. And this number, it's really striking, 64%. That's how many businesses expect agentic AI to displace jobs in standardized roles. Think customer service, administrative tasks. This isn't some far-off future we're talking about. This technology is ready to fundamentally reshape how we work, and it's happening fast. So, where does all this leave us? The path forward probably isn't about trying to stop this technology. It's about figuring out how to build a successful partnership between us, humans, and these new autonomous systems. But building that partnership means we have some major challenges to solve. First, data. The AI needs clean, high-quality data from systems that usually don't talk to each other. Then we have to make sure the creator and executor AIs are perfectly in sync. We've got to build systems that are transparent enough for regulators to actually audit. And this one is huge. We have to define who is responsible when an autonomous system messes up, who's accountable. And finally, we have to get our own teams and companies ready for this whole new way of working. And that brings us to our final thought. For years, our main job was to build better tools. But now, as AI evolves from being just a passive tool into an active collaborator, the whole challenge changes. Our next great task isn't just about building the tech anymore. It's about learning how to work alongside it, how to govern it, and ultimately, how to shape this new partnership for the better. So the question is, what's your role going to be in all of this?